From the basketball court at the University of Virginia to the classroom at UNC Chapel Hill, Dr. Deborah Stroman has it all covered. Now this professor and sports business entrepreneur is about to take you to school. It's time for Dishing It Up with Dr. Stroman and the Sports Shop on Buzz Sports Radio.
D. Stroll, what's going on, Dr. Stroman? How you doing?
I'm not trying to give anybody a big hit, but Pam and Errol sounded really good singing this morning.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Dr. Stroman,
thank you so much.
That's the only reason they do it.
I mean,
because that's the one thing they do together that they sound halfway decent. So they do it every morning just to make themselves feel good. But you know what? You're right, Dr. Stroman. They do sound good together.
thank you, K-Man. You got to go on and say you're right, Dr. Stroman.
And it took Dr. Stroman for you to say it because I don't know that you've ever said it.
He's never said
and
it.
I ain't going to say it.
Wow.
I'm just going to agree with Dr. Stroman.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Oh, mercy. Good morning, good people. How are we doing?
Doing
Good.
great.
How you doing,
How are
Dr.
you?
I'm doing well. So I'm thinking about Draymond. Draymond and the word bully. So let's hold on to our thoughts around Draymond and being a bully or not. Wow. And let me do just a little mini lecture here.
Wow.
So bully, the word, when you just Google it, Merriam-Webster, a person who habitually seeks to harm or intimidate those whom they perceive as vulnerable. Another definition is one who habitually is cruel, insulting, or threatening to others who are weaker. And so bullies haven't always been thought of as being intimidating menaces. In fact, going all the way back to the 1500s in England, bully was actually synonymous with lover. And then centuries later, it transformed into a wonderful person, whether that was male or female, into someone who just keeps messing up, a blusterer, as in someone who talks a lot of stuff, but they really have no backbone, just empty threats. And so the word had transformed further into a harasser of the weak. And then in the 1800s, a gentleman wrote a book called School Days in England, and it featured a guy named Flash Man who was really, really violent.
Flash Man.
He snatched up lottery tickets and taunted schoolmates. And then years later, American educators provided examples of bullying at school. And someone named, they picked a name called Fletcher, as in Fletcher was the one who would push smaller boys who wouldn't obey him and then hold them down with his knee until they begged him to stop, which of course makes us think of other things. But by the turn of the century, now we're talking about 1900s, bullies were no longer sweethearts or lovers. They were looming figures like Flash Man and Fletcher. They evoked fear among their peers. Fear. And so it wasn't until the early mid-1900s did the word become more scholarly. Dr. Paul Heinemann, he was a physician and he was a Holocaust survivor. He developed a theory about bullying after witnessing the local community and how they were very hostile towards his son, who was black. And he looked to the behavior of animals, specifically mobbing, groups and groups of people, violent, this instinctual behavior of birds, assaulting weaker members of the species. And so he applied this to aggression around a particular child. And then we're moving forward. A young Swedish academic named Dan Alois, he thought that Heinemann's theory was good, but he said it's not about the mobbing. It's not about the big crowd. He thought that it was actually the opposite. It's a small group of 2 or 3 students who would do the majority of bullying that occurred in a classroom. And as many as 30% of the children who were bullied have been victimized by the same person. And so over time, Alois, he refined the meaning of bullying to include 3 conditions. Number 1, it's repeated, it's deliberate, whether it's verbal or physical, and it's someone with more power than his or her target. So when we think about that in terms of Draymond and whether he's bullying opponents, whether he's bullying referees, is it repeated? Is it deliberate, verbal or physical? And it's someone with more power than his or her target. So I'll put the pause there. And do you feel that Draymond fits that mold?
Draymond doesn't have more power necessarily than his or her target.
How do you define power?
Either physical or verbal or just by position or status.
When I think about power in this way, Draymond is one of the best defenders in the league. He's won the defensive award. He's on a dynasty-type team tradition. Clearly he has power because he's not getting calls. I mean, he gets calls go for him, like with that technical in Game 2. So I think he has a form of power. And he's associated with a franchise that has a great tradition.
Interesting. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, definitely he has a level of intimidation. You know, he gets in your head. His comments and taunting.
Well, Professor, can I ask you a question?
Please.
So, in that definition, in the context that you're presenting it, would you characterize Lawrence Taylor, Deion Sanders, guys of that nature as being bullies as well? Because their whole game is talking, trying to intimidate the other person. Football is a different kind of sport, but you have bullies. Tom Brady can be perceived as a bully. The way how he's toss jumps to other people and get away with it. He intimidates these guys. And the refs too. And the refs too. So in the context that you are presenting this, you can put a whole lot of people in this category.
And so that lends itself to, there's one thing about bullying in a classroom, especially when we're talking about youth.
Yeah.
But I believe that bullying is a big part of sports, and great teams always have a bully on their team.
Yep.
Someone who does this intimidation, someone who tries to get into other people's heads, who don't have the mental strength, as in they're weaker.
Yeah.
I don't know great teams that don't have a bully.
Yeah. I mean,
ML Carr.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Dennis Rodman.
Of course. So when you in that context, I mean, I love Draymond Green. I think he's the most important player on this team. How he played last night is part of the reason they lost. But so in the context that you presented, maybe he is a bully, the way you said it. But but if I say that, I can give you a laundry list of other guys who are as well.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think this is one of the challenges with my Sixers. We don't have a bully. We don't have
100%.
That's a good point.
100%.
Yes.
hard foul.
You don't have a bully and you don't have a coach either. They got a coach. Doc Rivers.
Okay.
I was gonna say, Dr. Strowman, you got many problems. And missing a bully is not. It's just what a
comment about singing.
I didn't say that. That was K-Mac.
No, he come let me once say Doc Rivers.
No, you got to take it back because it's true. They got many problems. Missing a bully is probably the fifth on the list.
But we like Doc. We like Doc Rivers. We just think that he's not the right coach for the 76ers. That's all we saying. That's all we're saying.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Look, all scholars should not teach every class.
There we go. But, we look at bullying, and certainly we've seen it elevated to the point, again, because now we have social media, news reporting is much stronger in this area where it can lead to harm and death. But I'm talking about in the sports world where you need, and I believe coaches try to get more of their players to be this tougher, where's your heart, whatever it takes, pull somebody's jersey, go chest to chest with someone and don't back down. I think more coaches want that, but there are certain players from probably when they first jumped on the court or the field that they had this in them. Yeah. They're not going to allow their weaker teammate to be intimidated. They'll step in. They're the first ones. Say, if you want to go with somebody, you go at me. I'll take it. Yep. And I think because sport is such a big head game, it's critical. So we shouldn't look at bullying in sports the way we look at bullying maybe in the classroom.
Oh, no. I agree. Because I'm pretty sure you played with someone, and you don't have to tell me their name, but somebody you played with in Virginia played that role. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you a question, Dr. Strowman. So when you talk about bullying, you're talking about grown men grown men, very strong, very fast, well into adulthood. And what you're saying is they can be bullied by another grown man? Or are we really saying
Yes.
they could be affected by what other men are doing and making them change what they do?
Normally do.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I think we should draw the line at bullying in the sense that I'm afraid of another grown man, because I'm not, right? But is Draymond and others forcing you to change your shot because you know he's gonna foul you, give you a hard foul or whatever? Because that's really what's happening. Like, he's forcing you to do something you normally don't do just because of their antics.
Well, I'm not talking about Draymond, the basketball player. I'm talking about Draymond, the intimidator, just like Michael Jordan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Jordan could beat you, make you do different things on the court because of his skill set, but he also intimidated. I'll never forget,
That's
I really
good
liked Steve Smith's game. You all might remember him.
Yes.
But when it came to the playoffs and he matched up with Michael Jordan, it's almost like it turned into a 28-year-old man playing against a 12-year-old.
Yep.
You can just see guys who are intimidated by others because of this aura that they have. I will mess with you mentally. And then some of them add the talking as well.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So,
man.
and that's just, in fact, this goes into language, right? We have that saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. We know from every aspect of psychology that is not true. It's a nice little rhyming thing, but it's not true. But in the world of sports, and especially with guys, well, in fact, we say it as women too, play like a girl, you're a wimp, you're soft, right? Isn't that one of the labels for Carolina men's basketball? Oh, they're just soft.
Yeah.
That's
Those
right.
are that hurts. That makes you play harder. That makes you, no, I am not, because no one wants to be viewed as being easily intimidated.
Wow, that's 100% on that one.
Let me clean that up before somebody says something where I say, "Oh, female athletes say play like a girl." We know the reality is that there is a stigma out there that girls can't play sports and they're not bullies and they're not aggressive and all this. We throw that out, right? We know that. But there is now a sense of when you say, oh, you play like a girl, women athletes are supposed to say, yeah, I do, and I'll kick your butt.
Right.
That's good.
Right.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I clean that up. Yeah.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. Dr. Stroman, I'll be remiss, and I'm not sure you've already heard this comment, but I did want to ask you if you heard Jack Del Rio's comments, who's the defense coordinator for the Commanders, regarding the insurrection on January 6th last year was a dust-up, and we should be focusing more on the protest that year from an investigation perspective versus trying to have this investigation by January 6th. Have you heard those comments yet?
So, yes, it is all over the news. We always say, vote, vote, vote. I always like to add, be an informed voter. And so Jack Del Rio, others, sports, entertainment folks, sure, we want to hear from you. Please, free speech, but know what you're talking about. And because you do have a brand on your chest, you represent not only, yourself and your family, but you represent the franchise. You represent, players who look up to you and coach you. So be informed. Now, if he really knows what he's talking about, and this is how you feel, hey, go ahead and let other people make the comments and we'll critique him and all that. But it goes down a dangerous route when you have people who just jump up and say things and they're not informed.
Wow. Very well
and it
said.
will, again, same thing with George Floyd, all the other things, tragic things, unfortunate things that have happened to the black community in this country. He's going to get pushback, and it happens in the locker room. The brothers, they talk. We are human. We have certain feelings about white people. Maybe I'm putting stuff out in the public sphere, but we do have thoughts. We're human. We have a history in this country of trauma, of pain, and unnecessary death. We are suspicious. And this is from a research perspective, and everybody, me, you, Pam, K-Mac, we all have been in conversations with black friends and family members around this subject and what has gone on in this country for us as a community. So if you're going to dish it out, you better be ready for the consequences.
Unbelievable.
Because they coming.
Yep, absolutely.
They coming. Well, Dr. Strobel, as always, it's a pleasure having you. It's a pleasure having this conversation with you. Glad we didn't have a test today. So,
Yes.
seeing that this is the end of the semester and we are about to go on summer break, I shouldn't get any more tests from you, right?
Well, the question is, are you all enrolling in summer school?
Yes, right.
Yes,
we are.
yes.
There will
We
be
are.
more.
But
Okay.
I need to next Friday to pay for it. I got to pay for it next
Hey,
Friday.
look, I'm covering the summer school,
thought
but
you
I'm
were
not covering the
scholarship.
summer school.
Wow.
Scholarship.
Wow.
Hey, look, I'm covering the summer school, but I ain't covering the summer school.
Wow. I did.
All right, Dr. Strobel.
Everybody have a great day.
You too.
Follow UNC baseball.
Oh, yeah.
In the regionals. College World Series is always a lot of fun. And have a great day.
All right,
You
have a good one.
too.
Yeah.